Welcome back everyone. In the previous lecture, we talked about the ID locator, the golden locator in Selenium. We saw why it's fast, reliable, and always the first choice. But what happens when an element does not have an ID? So what if the ID is dynamic? So that's where today's locator comes into play. That is the name locator. So in this lecture, we will understand the difference between ID and name, why the name attribute exists in HTML forms, when the name locator is reliable, and we will do a live app automation demo using our practice page. So let's begin. So first, let's understand what name is in HTML. Okay, so just like ID, name is also an HTML attribute, but there is a key difference. So an ID is meant for identifying elements in the UI. A name is primarily meant for a form data submission. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so here we will go to our practice page, and then here if you see there is the interest calculator. Okay, so if I just go to the principal here, principal amount, just right click and inspect, and then you will see the HTML code. So here the name is interest principal. So this attribute tells the browser when this form is submitted, send this value with the key interest principal, and that's why you will see name attributes mostly in forms. Okay, so this is the form. Okay, I think, okay, so here, okay, so even for the interest years, you see there is a name. Yeah, so there is a ID, still there is ID, but yeah, like for now we can ignore ID because this is just for a practice. So you can just focus on name. So if you see for some of the elements, let's say for example there is this button. So let me quickly. Okay, here you see, okay, oh, sorry, here is also ID, and then you can see show button. There is a name attribute. Okay, and then one more I guess I have. Okay, so this one, go to show message, and now you see there is a button. The type is button. Okay, which is not meaningful, right? Because type can be button for like lot of buttons, but you see there is a name attribute with a show message button. Okay, so this way, and here there is no ID attribute. Okay, so definitely this is a very good choice for name attribute. Okay, so what is the difference between ID and name? Let's understand. Okay, so this is very common interview question. So ID versus name. Okay, so ID, it must be unique. Okay, used mainly for UI interaction, which is faster in Selenium, and preferred locator, also called as a golden locator. Okay, and it's always a first choice. Second is like name. Like name can be repeated. It is not guaranteed unique. Okay, used for form submission. Okay, and slightly less reliable than ID, but it's a second best option. Okay, so if an element has a stable ID, always go for ID. Only when ID is missing or unreliable, we move to name. Okay, so now let's talk about why name exists at all. So in the early days of web development, forms were submitted directly to the servers. Okay, so the server receives the data in this format. So name is equal to interest principal. So this key, that is the interest principal, comes from the name attribute. So the name attribute is essential for backend processing. Okay, so now let's see how Selenium uses the name locator. The syntax is very similar to ID. So let's say for example, if I want to locate this button here, so I can simply copy this name here, this name attribute value, and then in our example, so let's say, let's differentiate this here. This is ID locator, and then here I can add name locator. Okay, so let's say driver dot find element by dot, instead of ID now we will take as name. So if you see, even name will take the string argument. Okay, and then pass the particular show button name. Okay, from the HTML. Okay, and now for this, like as this is a button, we should be, the action should be like clicking, right? So we can click on it. Okay, so again, Selenium reads this like this. So let's say, for example, find this element and click on it. Okay, so this is how Selenium reads this particular line. Okay, so let's walk through the real automation flow using the name locator. Okay, so yeah, so this is how it is. Let's say, for example, for other cases, let's say this one. Now we will try to locate this using the name locator. Okay, so just copy this. Now as this is a text field, so again I will do driver dot find element by dot name, and then pass this particular name here. And then now instead of clicking it, we will just perform send keys, and then I can simply pass some principal, let's say 10,000. Okay, and this will fill the interest principal. So this section will get filled with this. Similarly, if you want to fill this number of years, then we can simply use this interest years, and then again we can perform driver dot find element by dot name, and then now I will pass it to interest years, and then send keys, and then for the years I will just add 5. So in this way, like we can use the name locator. Okay, so now let's answer and most important question: when should we trust the name locator? Okay, so first of all, use name when the ID is not present, name value is stable, the name element is inside a form, and only one element uses that name. So again, like if you just like use, let's say for example, if you can search it, you see there is only one element is matching, right? So this way we should be using the name, so it should have one of one here. So of course you need to you need to add a proper XPath or proper XPath here, but yeah, it should be able to uh, show one of one here. If it one of two, one of three, then that is again difficult. So we should not be able to use the name attribute directly. Okay, then we should be using another locator. So avoid name when multiple elements share the same name. Name is auto generated. Again, if the name is getting changed, then again we shouldn't be using that particular name attribute. Then dynamic frameworks modify name values. Again, that is nothing but the dynamic name attribute values. Okay, so in that case we should be avoiding name. Okay, so let me quickly highlight a few mistakes beginners make. So name is not guaranteed to be unique, and always check in the dev tools. So always we should be coming to the inspect window, which will open the developer tool, and then we should be checking here whether that is unique or not. Okay, then the second is using name over ID. So never prefer name over ID if the ID is available. So we have used it because again, like this is a practice. So you can just ignore this ID here for now, and then like let's assume we have only name attribute for this particular input tag. Okay, so never prefer name over ID if the ID is available. Okay, and then ignoring the page context. So same name may exist on different forms, so definitely we should not ignore the page context also. Okay, so this is how we can use the name. Okay, so let me try to run that. Maybe, oh, but I think we should have to change this particular URL. So like it's fine, we will keep it. Maybe we can just add this. Okay, then simply change the URL. Okay, and then I will just comment this out because this needs some different URL, and for this we should have we will need to learn some different concepts for window handlings. So that's why I have just commented this. Okay, and then change the URL here. Okay, and then it will simply click on show button, and then it will go to this principal and interest years. Okay, let's see how it goes. It might fail also because because of the timeouts. Again, the timeouts we will be learning in the upcoming sessions once we cover all the locators. So it has opened it. Okay, so it works, right? It has added added the number of years, and we didn't quit the browser. That's why you see the browser, it's still open. And if you go here down, I want to see the button whether that has clicked or not. And you see it has clicked because you see the result message is displayed successfully. If you simply refresh the page, you see the result is null here, right? So that's why it has clicked and our test case has passed. So if you see here, that process finished with exit code 0, so that means our test case got passed. Okay, so that's how it works, the name locator. So let's summarize today's lecture. So ID is the first choice, name is the second best option. Name is best for form fields. Always verify the uniqueness. There should not be the duplicacy in name while using. Use name when ID is missing. Okay, so and that brings us to the end of this lecture. If you understand the name locator properly, you will never feel stuck when ID is missing. So in the next tutorial, we will move into tag name and class name locators, and we'll understand how they behave in real applications. So if this lecture helped you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone learning Selenium. So this channel is about clarity over confusion, skill over shortcuts, and real automation confidence. I will see you in the next session.